It is Tuesday, March 31st, 2026. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is not my man, Trevor Plouffe. That is my dude, Jolly Olive. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan, along for the ride as well. How you doing almost 1 week into the season? I haven't had a chance to chop it up with you.
Rosie, I'm good. We haven't chatted in a while. I had the thought last night watching the Mets-Cardinals game on my couch of I don't know how we do it every offseason, because now that baseball's back, I can't imagine life without a game every night, and we're going to be so blessed for the next 7 months. It's wonderful.
You know what? I'd love to hear like what your viewing habits are. Like I know what I do on a daily basis to get ready for this show and things of that. Like, what do you do? How do you watch your baseball?
The Mets have a really good radio booth, so anytime I'm on the way home from work, I always listen to the radio. And then I get home around like 6:30 or like 7 or something like that. So sometimes that's before game time, sometimes it's like right on time. Watch the whole game. I'll usually split and have another game on my laptop, just whatever whatever game is interesting. So the I had the Diamondbacks Tigers game on for a little bit, which we're going to talk about, and then I watched all of Yankees Mariners last night, which was a great game.
It was a great game. We'll talk about that as well. Several different aspects of it. Yeah, for me, I just kind of plop right in front of the couch. I put my Octo box on as much as I can.
Oh, you got like all the games going.
Oh yeah, I watch.
That's too much for me.
It is. Yeah, it's not easy.
That's like a big thing with football Sundays that I just never got into. It's like I'm gonna watch one game. That one game's gonna get all my attention.
You know what? I'd love to hear from people in the comments how they consume their baseball. What do you do? Do you just focus on your team? Are you a fantasy person? Do you just like flipping around depending on pitching matchups, the whole bit? Because I think there's so many good different ways. But yeah, I've got computers. You know, Josh, our oldest son lives with us still. And on days where he's not working, he's got his computer thrown in there. We might throw a Cavs game in there as well, depending if they're on late night. So I don't know. There you go. We're going to start off with a pair of tips of the cap, and these are going to both tug at your heartstrings, make you cry, and make you feel good about the world at the same time. The Royals had their home opener, and before that, they honored the memory of their former World Series champion, Terrence Gore. They had his family out there, and his oldest son, Zane Gore, was out there throwing the first pitch. And look at this, that he is throwing to Gore's former teammate, Alex Gordon. And boy, he nailed it. And for
From
kids
the mound,
and a family that is going through so many emotions, good for him that he had the strength to get out there and share this moment with the world, Jolly.
Yeah, I mean, as a Mets fan, I got some conflicting feelings on the 2015 Royals, obviously, but they're one of the coolest World Series champions of our time. Terrence Gore obviously was pretty symbolic of that entire team, you know, the runner for hire, if you will, on that. And we lost him too soon. And it was really cool to see the second generation of the Gore family come out. You don't see a lot of kids that young thrown from the mound itself. Usually you see them right in front of the mound, but he threw a perfect strike. It's clear that baseball is in that kid's DNA.
Yeah. Terrence Gore, of course, passed away in early February following post-surgical complications, and our thoughts are obviously with Zane Gore and his entire family right there. Later that night, the Arizona Diamondbacks also had their home opener, and this is Bowden Baumkircher, who is a young man who lost both of his legs, had 20 surgeries, I believe, following staph infection, and he is out there with prosthetics. He is a huge Corbin Carroll fan, excuse me, and I believe that he and his dad were on MLB Network in the offseason on Hot Stove, and I think they played a hand in setting this up and getting him to meet his favorite player in Corbin Carroll, who spent ample time with Bowden and got to catch the first pitch and taking pictures. And this is the sort of stuff that'll just make your eyes well up, dude.
Yeah, it's cool to get both of these first pitches in such quick succession. It's really nice to see, like these moments made for kids that are just going to like live on forever. And good on Corbin Carroll for, taking the time out of whatever his regimen might be to make sure this kid had a really special day.
Yeah, and they did Jody Jackson did a great interview with the family during the game from the seats. And, asking quick questions of Bowden, baseball fan, the whole bit. Apparently on the prosthetics, he's got baseball stuff with art on there. So that's Bowden, cool. Keep doing your thing. Keep being a Diamondbacks fan. Keep being a Corbin Carroll fan. And I'm sure he was last night as we actually get to the game action. And Corbin Carroll definitely delivered in the early going.
High in the air to right. Carpenter back to the track. He's back to the wall. And it's gone.
That was in his second at-bat in the second inning to make it 5-0 over Justin Verlander and the Detroit Tigers. It's a game that turned into a bit of a slugfest. Arizona ended up winning their first game of the year in their home opener in Verlander's return to Detroit Tigers gear for the first time in quite a while. Carroll had actually tripled in his first at-bat and had some sort of demonic face work. Did you see that?
I didn't see this, actually.
Turned into a great meme. That's good. And it's great to see Corbin Carroll kind of returning to form. You know, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2024, where he struggled health-wise and just wasn't the same player, but now he is all the way back. The bigger thing, there's the triple. Look at the face on that thing. Yeah, dude. That is excellent. I love that. The bigger story is the Verlander return. And, you know, when he was signed by the Tigers, we were like, oh, okay. Cool story. And if you look at how he pitched last year, the second half of the season for the San Francisco Giants, we're like, could really help out. How worried are you? Not just after one start, but I mean, the guy's 43 years old. So how much can the Tigers expect out of him?
Yeah, I mean, you're viewing him as the anchor of the rotation for this season if you can get a full season's worth of innings. And I think you got to be patient because, like you said, the second half, Verlander really kicked into gear, and that's the reason that he's pitching another year, essentially. I'm not sure how many teams would have taken a flyer on him had he not had that really strong stretch for the last 2 months there. But I think for Tigers fans, there's so many weapons on their pitching staff ahead of Verlander and in the bullpen that this is all you really need this to be is sentimental value. Having him back in that Tigers uniform feels right, and I'm really excited for the first start he's going to get at Comerica Park. But all the pressure is going on guys like Tarek Skubal and Framber Valdez and the guys that are young trying to find their spot in the rotation. As for Verlander himself, he still sat 93 in his fastball last night, so it's not like there's this huge decline in velocity. Still had his whole arsenal going of breaking stuff as well. Just got hit hard by a good Arizona Diamondbacks lineup that very clearly was hungry for their first win of the season after a disappointing series in LA. So I'm not too worried at all, and it's cool to see him back in his Detroit digs.
Yeah, when we talk about how his year went in San Francisco, people say, "Well, didn't he go winless the first several months of the year?" Yeah, his first 16 starts. Once again, wins is a tough category these days if that's how you're measuring pitchers, which we know that's not how you do it. His last 7 starts in ERA under 2. I don't care if you're 43 or 23. Sold. I'm taking it. I suppose if you're looking at one start last night, some of the troubling stuff. Didn't get a strikeout until the 15th hitter he faced. Got only 6 swings and misses and 80 pitches. That's the sort of stuff where if guys are putting the ball in play on a consistent basis against him, that's where he's going to run into trouble. But as long as he's healthy, I expect him to pitch a full season for them and be at the back end of the rotation. I mean, there's no Reese Olson that you're going to rely on. So this is kind of the group that we've got here in Detroit, barring any sort of major trade that they have to make. And I think if this team ends up making a trade, it'll be for a stick and not for a starting pitcher, but that's me. I do think it's wonderful that he gets to return back there and finish what he started. Sometimes you get a guy who signs back to a club and you're like, ugh, really? I got to sit through a whole season of this? And that's not the way I would feel if I were a Tigers fan.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a great comparison, but in 2023, we had the Wainwright send-off season, which for a long time was going very poorly. And I mean, it was hurting the Cardinals' chances for competing for a playoff spot. Obviously, he rounded out the season nice and had a couple really nice starts at the end to get to his 200th win. But I think if you took the temperature of Cardinals fans during the year, it would be like, let's get this over with. Like, this is tough to watch. Whereas in retrospect, I think they're probably a little thankful that they got one last ride with Waino. It might be a similar story with Verlander and the Tigers, where this year might not be exactly pretty, but I think Tigers fans looking back on it 3 years from now or something like that will be glad that they got to see him in a Tigers uniform one more time.
Yeah, I suppose just the bit of difference is that Wainwright didn't go anywhere.
Never left, right?
Right, he was playing out his contract and the whole bit, and so, this guy decided to come back after visiting several different teams over the last few years.
Right.
So, and they brought him in because they still felt like he could be a key component in this organization. And who knows what he's doing in terms of the young pitchers and being able to help foster and develop those guys. I mean, that's the sort of stuff that we're just not privy to and shouldn't be, quite frankly. But I think it's a good signing. I don't know, Tigers fans, you can hop in on this conversation in our comments section and just about how excited you are about having Verlander back, your expectations for him. Are there any concerns? I mean, the guy is 43. I think he's the oldest professional athlete in North American pro sports, team
Oh,
sports.
wow.
I believe that's accurate, but I'm not. I saw that somewhere.
Up until Rich Hill pitches. Just watch out.
Hey, he'll be back at some point.
Yeah.
He always is. All right, today's episode, it is sponsored by Best Western Hotels and Resorts. Life's a trip, so why not make the most of it? With over 4,000 hotels worldwide, Best Western is there for every detour and destination, unexpected twist and turn along the way. And, a great stay isn't just about where you sleep. It's about where the journey takes you next. And when you stay for 3 nights at Best Western, you'll receive a $50 gift card to use for your very next stay. Best Western, as you can tell, I get it. Traveling isn't one size fits all. So whether you're looking for the next great adventure, a time to unwind, making memories with friends and family, Best Western helps you achieve your travel goals. Doesn't matter if you're traveling solo, with your friends, or the entire roster, Best Western has got you covered. All you have to do is pack your bag, queue up your playlist, and book more of what matters most. Life's a trip. Make the most of it at bestwestern.com. I know my man Jolly Olive has hit the Best Western on the road several times.
Big fan. Big fan.
You making any trips this?
Yeah. I got a couple coming up in May and June, but I won't spoil anything. A couple road trips.
You want to just whisper them in my ear?
A little Texas. A little bit of Chicago again.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
I like that.
Yeah.
Do you try to see the Mets on the road at all?
Here and there, but Citi Field's just such a fun place to be. Why go anywhere else,
That's adorable. Yankees and Mariners. Fun pitching duel. And Cal Raleigh, who is off to a slow start this season, did not get the start, but certainly helped out with the finish.
The 2-1. Hit hard. Fair ball. Cal Raleigh walks it off against the Yankees.
Yeah, he came in as a pinch hitter, struck out in his first at bat, then got the game winner. 2-1, the Mariners win that one up in Seattle. Little late night ball for you, or early morning ball, depending on where you are in this country. So a couple things. First of all, I know that baseball is definitely back when fan bases are bitching in Game 4 about how a manager is using relievers and things.
I wonder what fan base this could be.
Well, now I'm not here to point fingers because there's a ton of fan bases that do it. I just love it that we're back already knee deep into it and we don't even have a week's worth of games, Jolly. That makes it fun for me.
It's what makes the sport beautiful. Every baseball game is a chess match, and the games in March count just as much as the games in September.
They do. Yeah. So let's get to Cal Raleigh, who did not start. He is now 3 for 17 this year, I believe, with a dozen strikeouts. Can this team get where it wants to be if Cal Raleigh is not an elite catcher?
I'm going to point blank say no. They need Cal Raleigh to be not necessarily the guy who hit 60 home runs last year, but, at minimum, a 4-WAR player, a guy that plays 140 games, hits you 30 home runs, and is out there every day. I think this team is incredibly talented, but when you're talking about any team, their front end talent needs to be there or else their entire season outlook changes. A good example is the Houston Astros last year, who only got 30 games out of Yordan Alvarez and missed the playoffs by 1 game. Imagine if they got a full season, you'd have to imagine they probably would have been in the dance at year's end. With the Mariners, don't be too worried about Cal's start. He had a weird WBC. Mm-hmm. He had a handshake gate. He didn't start this game. There are plenty of slow starters, even on the Mariners. Julio Rodriguez is a perennial slow starter. So I wouldn't be so worried about Cal yet. I just do think fans probably need to temper expectations that we might not see, the 60 homer campaign come up again. And Cal, I think, just needs to be the best version of himself. And even if it's not that 2025 version, Cal Raleigh is still an incredibly talented player, switch hitting catcher who does almost everything well. Just be that guy, and the Mariners will get where they need to be, as long as he's part of the leadership of this team and part of the top-end talent of this team.
Yeah, we're not getting a duplication of 60 homers. In fact, I think if he hit mid to high 30s, That's fantastic. He has yet to leave the yard yet this season. If you just look at it compared to other catchers, I think that's what you have to do.
Sure.
And in order to put what we saw last season into perspective, okay, he's a 9-WAR player, right? 60 home runs. The next closest guys from behind the dish were Shea Langoliers and Hunter Goodman. Each had 31, which is a remarkable season. When you consider what guys go through on a daily grind just to get their pitching staffs ready, we've never had more meetings in the history of baseball. There's never been more data available for catchers. So their brain is already fried by its time for first pitch. And then you consider the number of foul balls that they take off of their hands, and their freaking feet hurt all the time, and their forearms get nicked up, the whole bit. So when you hit 30 homers, when you do that as a catcher, like, I applaud you. I don't even know what the hell I saw last year with Cal Raleigh. I can't even describe it. And I'm not here to debate whether he should have won the MVP or not won that stuff doesn't matter. I think we just have to take that season and say we might have just seen the greatest offensive year ever by a catcher. And I know it's hard to say that when a guy doesn't even hit 250 and stuff, but his OPS was mid-9s. A couple of years before, where he had back-to-back 30-plus homer seasons, we're talking about mid-7s. A shade higher than 750, but still, that's a great season. Now, if he has that this year, everybody's going to be like, well, what the hell's the matter with Cal Raleigh?
Right. And that's the price of success sometimes. I mean, we even saw with Aaron Judge. Like, Judge had a bad first game of the year, and we already saw people going, "Oh my God, is he washed up? Is this the beginning of the end?" No, it's the price you pay when the standard's that high. What?
Who was saying that? That's people that don't watch baseball.
Sure, but it's also just reactionary. Baseball fans, like you said before, who are already getting on managers' bullpen decisions, are going to react. So when they see Cal get off to a start where he's striking out in over half of his at-bats, they're going to question whether or not he's really that guy anymore. But I just think of every great team in MLB that you think is going to be there at year's end. The Dodgers have Will Smith. The Brewers have William Contreras. The Blue Jays have Alejandro Kirk. The Phillies have JT Realmuto. To be an elite team, you need to have an elite backstop. And Cal, even if he doesn't hit 60 home runs, is still a top 3, top 2, top 1 catcher in the sport. Even if he just gets to, a 120 OPS plus instead of a 171 OPS plus, or 30 home runs instead of 60. So I hope it's not in his head, because that's the problem you run into when you're coming off this great season that seems insurmountable by comparison. But, just go out there and play good ball. That's all it is.
There is one other thing I'm curious about, is how much the World Baseball Classic thing with Randy affected him.
They high-fived last night. Did you see that? That was good.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Good to hear. And I only bring that up because Cal is really known as like a guy in that organization who cares about everybody, and he doesn't like to deal with all the bullshit. And you could see it on his face. Were you still in Houston when he had to answer the questions?
I don't believe so. I think that was the day we left, where there was one more USA game. I think we didn't see USA Italy, and I think that was when he was talking about
exactly.
it.
He was talking before the game, and you could see it like on his face. He was like, I cannot believe that I have to talk about this. So, I would imagine he's gotten past it, but it was something that he didn't enjoy dealing with, and the fact that he didn't get a bat in the semifinal and the finals. I don't care who you are. That's got to be a little embarrassing for him.
Yeah, I mean, you got benched on the super team for the backup. Right. It's not a good feeling. I get it.
Nobody's complaining because it's Will Smith, who's one of the great clutch hitters of our era. I don't care what position you're talking about. I mean, they just freaking made a bobblehead of his 11th inning home run. And what does he go do on his 31st birthday on the night that he's got a bobblehead? He hits a go-ahead homer in the late going. Like, it's not embarrassing that he got benched for Will Smith, but we certainly didn't have that. We would have figured him playing in either the semifinal or the final going into that tournament.
Right.
Maybe the most interesting part of that game between the Mariners and the Yankees is what happened between New York and the home plate umpire, Mike Easterbrook, who got challenged several times. So we're going to play a little clip from Yes. Here we go.
Oh, what a pitch. And Stanton is challenging that. And they got it right again. The Yankees on fire. And now there is barking from the Yankee dugout as if to tell Estabrook, get it right. Yankees are 4 for 4 in getting it right.
I believe they ended up going 5 for 5. They have had the most challenges overturned, the Yankees, so they're doing a good job with that. I believe they have 10 overturned challenges. But why in the world would you bark at the umpire to get better if you already have the robotic backing of ABS?
It's an interesting question. I think the clip is a bad microcosm because that pitch was like
Yes.
so close. There was a previous at bat with Jose Caballero who worked a walk with 2 challenges in the at bat, both of which were very low below the zone. I think that's what originally got the Yankees bench pretty hot. But there's a great breakdown already on Jomboy Media's channel about the CB Buckner game, which I'm sure you guys have talked about. This, I think, is the runner-up for the worst I've seen an umpire do with ABS so far. And like, I think Yes showed in between on the broadcast, him wiping his head with the towel in between innings of like, you could see that it's wearing on him. And this is the psychological effect of what we're seeing of umps aren't allowed to have their zone anymore. It's the strike zone, and you have to call strikes based on where the strike zone is. So I think that was really where the frustration was stemming from of this is likely an umpire who's had his zone be a pitcher friendly low zone for his entire life. And now he needs to adjust to what is the correct strike zone. I'm still a vehement supporter of ABS. And if you're going to get barked at, it's probably because you missed 5 calls within 3 innings. I get it. But it was a little shocking to see live.
Yeah, I wonder if I don't know how to deal with the barking. At first I was taken back by it. I'm like, well, if you don't like a call, just tap your head and you'll win, I suppose. Do it. Maybe we could implement something where you can't bitch and moan until you're out of challenges.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think eventually we're going to get to a point where there's not even a limit on the challenges because of how well hitters and catchers have been doing. Like, I think we're going to blow past. I think this year might stand out as an anomaly of like, remember when they only got 2 chances to challenge? I think in the future it's going to be whenever you want because they're especially on the Yankees with the guys they employ very tall players who constantly get cheated with low strikes, like Stanton, like Ben Rice, like Aaron Judge. And so far, they've nailed all their challenges on that area of the zone. I think that's a trend that's going to continue.
That's interesting. I don't know how I would feel about unlimited challenges.
Maybe there's a higher limit on it, and I'm not sure. Maybe per inning or something like that. But the fact that the success rate is this high this early makes me think they're going to do away with the risk factor of it.
Well, it's interesting, though. The hitters have been significantly worse than the catchers in terms of successful.
But still significantly better than the pitchers is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, the pitchers shouldn't be allowed to play in this.
I agree. I'm with you there.
We got to take that away from them.
Yeah,
that is
a little crazy.
I don't want my pitchers challenging. Most of the people I've talked to who are pitchers have said, I want no part of it.
Right.
The catchers, I'm sure, are dealing with it. They're
like I think Helsley is one of the few that I've seen do it and actually get in like a big moment, obviously, too.
Yeah, he did. Although there was a little controversy in terms of the amount of time it took. But if you watch that replay,
beat the robots.
Yeah, that was great. What a great line by Kevin Brown. He nailed it. I don't know. We had a long talk about ABS on Monday's show. I'm a huge fan of it. I love the drama. I can't wait for that thing to pop up on the scoreboard. Like I dig every aspect of it. It's not 100% perfect, but it's pretty damn good. I'm all for it. I did talk to Stephen Vogt. I went down to Dodger Stadium yesterday, and I did talk to Stephen Vogt about how they're going over strategy and things of that nature. We'll have a little short clip put out somewhere on our Jomboy Media social channels because this is something that is morphing with every day that they're getting more and more data that comes in.
It's continuously evolving.
And yet what that means is more meetings and more data for the players. Which is
like you said before, there's never been so many meetings, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's getting harder and harder to interview people. Yeah. Where is that guy? He's in a meeting. Yeah. Didn't you already have meetings? Like, can't we just go play? Stop with the meetings enough already. Please. Try to give people content. Hey, today's episode is sponsored by Rocket Money. Organizing your own finances can feel a bit overwhelming, and the amount of time it takes can feel like a burden. Rocket Money, it's a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, you can set budgets and goals, get personalized insights and regular reports, and receive real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, refunds, and low balances. Rocket Money also help you track your subscriptions, give you the ability to cancel unwanted subscriptions in just a few taps. The app consolidates checking, savings, loans, investments into a single convenient dashboard. Users are able to get a clear view of their finances and set their goals as well. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/today. Once again, that is rocketmoney.com/today. That is a great tool, particularly for young people when they're just starting to organize their finances.
Good call.
Maybe I can get you a subscription for your wedding. Is that what you...
It's kind of a lame adult wedding gift. What about like a nice bottle of liquor or something, Rose?
Well, maybe
You
I
wanna
can
get
get
me
you both.
a Rocket Money subscription?
Stop
Come
it.
on.
It is a wonderful, wonderful service. I'm trying
Now
to
I feel like
tell
I'm
you
getting
that, for
scolded.
God's sake.
Now I feel like I'm getting scolded.
All right, let's move on. The Rockies, they got their first win. The Jays suffer their first loss of the season, but the question is, how much more did they lose? Because their starting pitcher, Cody Ponce, was down for the count. He returned to the big leagues for the first time since 2021, was pitching well, and here on this little bouncer by Jake McCarthy, kind of awkwardly trying to corral the ball, and he collapses there on the infield. You'll grab another look for those of you that are joining us on our YouTube channel. You could see something going on with his knee. Actually had to be carted off of the field. Had an MRI on Monday night. We're going to find out the details at some point today. First of all, I mean, you can't help but feel for a guy who worked this hard. He had to go to both Japan and Korea in order to find success, work his way back here where he signed a 3-year, $30 million deal with the Blue Jays and was really finally getting that opportunity in the show. Your heart just breaks for him if this is anything significant.
Yeah, you really hope it's not. I mean, these stories are always great. I still think back to Eric Fetty when he had that really nice year with the White Sox his first year back, and that was a guy that I watched pitch a lot for the Nationals, and not a lot of it was good. And these stories are always really cool because these are guys taking bets on themselves and doing something that's way out of their comfort zone to try and reignite their career. There are a couple, and take this with the heaviest grain of salt you can find in your cupboard, but there are a couple Twitter doctors, guys that will watch sports games and try and instant diagnose what they see, that called it a hyperextension, maybe a hamstring strain. If that's true, that's wonderful news because that means he's not going to hit the shelf for too long. But overall view, the Blue Jays did plan for something like this. Not exactly a freak injury, but they have tons of starting pitching depth. So it'll get tested way sooner than they want it to. But they have a lot of guys that they can tap to hopefully, replace the void if it doesn't have to be for too long for Cody Ponce. But you got to feel for him because this had the makings of being one of the better storylines out of baseball this year.
And what a start he was off to last night. He got on 29 swings by the Rockies. He got 15 swings and misses.
Not bad. Through like 3 innings or something like that?
Yeah, I don't even think he got 3 full.
Jeez.
Those are pretty extraordinary numbers. Welcome back, dude. What does it mean for the Blue Jays? Well, for people that haven't been following along, they have already got 3 starters on the injured list.
Right.
And so here's the update. Barrios is doing a couple of up-downs today and scheduled for a live BP on Saturday. Yasavage, a 3-inning sim game on Friday. Shane Bieber is going to be on the mound for the first time this coming weekend. So what does that mean? None of those guys are close.
Right.
That does not mean that, hey, okay, we'll see you in a week. The good news is, because of the way the schedule plays out, they're only going to need a 5th starter, it sounds like once in between now and April 18th. So the schedule plays in their favor. What else does it mean? It means that Max Scherzer, who's 41 years old and makes his debut, can you turn those lights on for me, please? This is my favorite part of doing the show in studio. Going on Jolly. See, you look so much better when you're not in the dark.
Who programmed those lights to turn off? That's insane.
Anyway, what it means is that 41-year-old Max Scherzer is going to have to pitch like 31-year-old Max Scherzer. Right? And unfortunately, he's been an accident waiting to happen the last couple of years. So their depth is going to get tested. Like, it's almost a race between those 3 previous guys I mentioned, between Barrios, Yasavage, and Bieber. Who can get back here fastest?
Yeah. And it's also, it makes me think of an offseason discussion we had about, this is random, but we talked about Eric Lauer and how you thought maybe he might ask for his way up. Well, now you're the 3 starter and we absolutely need you because that's how baseball works. You always can never have enough starting pitching.
Yep. and he pitched great in his
Yep.
season debut against the Athletics. He's the only one of those 3 guys that started that didn't get double-digit strikeouts, but I'll take a 9-strikeout Eric Lauer
It's not
performance.
bad. Doesn't suck.
Right. The number one thing is to find out what that MRI is, and let's hope that some of those internet MDs are right on target with a hyperextension or a hamstring. But on that turf up there, I'm a little worried. Hang with him, buddy. God, that was such a bummer. All right, fun Monday around baseball. It started with a little history from an unexpected source.
Weimer up the middle. Another Weimer screamer. He's 10 for 10 reaching base to start the season.
He did say Weimer screamer, right?
It's crazy. It's absolutely a crazy call. Can't believe that happened.
It's another Weimer screamer.
Sure.
So reaching base safely 10 straight times to start a season ties Carlos Delgado, who did it 24 years ago.
Wow.
So I don't know if that means that Jody Weimer is going to hit over 400 homers like Carlos Delgado, but maybe Joey Weimer will. Are we not making a big enough deal about this story?
No, I think we're making a completely appropriate deal about it. I mean, look, this is awesome. I mean, Joey Weimer is, I think, a former highly touted prospect, insane tools, and it looks like he's clicking in an environment where he's going to get to play. Like the Nationals are going to trot him out there every day. So it's a cool story. But I mean, I did a tweet about this yesterday of like April legends and stuff like that, guys who had like monster, first weeks. Remember Yermín Mercedes in 2021. A couple of years ago. I mean, last year we had Carson Kelly, who was the best hitter in baseball for the first month. I'm not saying that Joey Weimer can't have a fantastic year, but I feel like every year we get some sort of like weird anomaly to start the season where it's the best players in the league and then also this guy. So I'm happy for Joey Weimer, and hopefully he can turn into one of those guys because I think that would be a terrific story for him.
And the Nationals are off to a wonderful start. I mean, their schedule has been as brutal as anybody. Road trips through Chicago and Philadelphia, and to take 3 of the first 4, it's great. I mean, Plouffe and I laughed a little bit as we were kind of doing our last Thursday. We previewed every game that day, and we were like, what do we have to say nice about the Nationals? And there is a Nationals fan who follows this show.
Nice.
We appreciate you. He's been getting back at me saying, hey, let's go. Well, you're not believing in it, and you're right. I'm not believing in you because I think you're going to finish dead last in the division. The idea is to find guys that you can surround James Wood with moving forward. And that's the whole goal of this year offensively. And if it is Joey Weimer that finally gets a crack, I mean, the last 2 years, he played less than 50 major league games combined.
It's wild.
So I hope it happens. There's one other guy who could have been on your short list of early season exploits. I don't know if you're old enough to remember the name Chris Shelton.
Of course, Tigers first baseman, right?
Yes.
Their World Series year. Yeah, of course.
I think he hit 10. Didn't he hit 10 homers?
He had a huge first month for them.
Enormous. I want to say he hit 10 homers the first month and finished with 15.
They had the signature red hair.
Yeah. Another one of those guys. Got to be careful with those. Yeah.
I mean, that's my whole wheelhouse. That's just random guys who had one good month, Remember this dude.
When do I get a Saturday drop of Chris Shelton?
I think I've done something on him before. I don't remember what video it was, but I've done like a crazy opening month video or something like that.
Oh, it wasn't Oddball Redheads?
No, it wasn't Oddball Redheads. I think John Buck was in the video. His first month with the Mets in 2013. He hit like 9 home runs.
John Buck, all-star.
We can go tit for tat, Chris Rose. I can do this all day.
Yeah. Okay, elsewhere. God, there were some good pitching performances on Monday. I'll just run down a bunch of them real quick. Parker Messick of Cleveland, 6 shutout against the 2-time world champion LA Dodgers. Mike Soroka, 10 strikeouts, including an immaculate inning in the Diamondbacks home opener. Lance McCullers, 7 strong for Houston, his longest outing since 2022. Congrats to Chase Burns, who got his first show win with 5 innings for the Cincinnati Reds, who are off to a nice start. Jack Leiter struck out 8 in 6 innings for the Rangers. Landon Roop, 6 shutty for the Giants. Is Tony Vitello, congratulations to their skipper on his first major league win. And Edward Cabrera in his Cubs debut, 6 shutout, 1 hit allowed against the Halos. Pick one of those pitching storylines to follow this year.
I mean, the choice is pretty easy for me. I'm going to go with Edward Cabrera and the Cubs. I got to watch a decent bit of this guy against my Mets when he was pitching for the Marlins. Never could quite have that full healthy season, but you always just knew arm talent was incredibly there with him. And the Cubs rotation was a solid unit, but I felt like it needed some strikeout potential. You had Matthew Boyd, who's a contact pitcher, Shota, who's a contact pitcher, a Tyone, who at this point in his career isn't punching as many tickets. Edward Cabrera, I think, is the real swing in the season for them, that he could ascend to being, their ace by season's end. And the thing is, they took a pretty big gamble to go out and get him. They traded away Owen Casey, who is their former number one prospect, who I think is going to be a very good player for the Marlins, has already shown that early in the season. I think this has a chance to be a huge win-win trade for both sides. And Edward Cabrera faced what I think is a fairly decent Angels lineup that's had a good start to the year in his first outing and absolutely shut him down.
That's a great call. The thing that terrifies me about him is the injuries. Multiple trips to the injured list each of the last 2 years, and it just feels like it's a ticking time bomb, and I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong because he is a guy that can change their rotation. There's no question about it. And it is one of those trades where I think that it can work out great for both teams. I wanted to get my hands on Owen Casey and frickin' Clase. I really think that the Guardians would have traded him to the Cubs.
Everything is Guardians baseball. It all goes back to the Guardians. Center of the universe.
When you mention guys who I think could have been in our uniform, like Owen Casey, then yes, it does.
And you guys could always use outfield help. Although Chase DeLauder looking pretty good.
Yes, he's played well. I'm going with Jack Leiter, who switched to his Pappy's number this year, number 22. Great debut against the Orioles. I already gave you his numbers. He also struck out 5 straight batters at one point. Last year, when you probably weren't looking because the Rangers weren't in contention, a sub 3.3 ERA in the second half, right? We focused a lot on DeGrom, a lot on Eovaldi, and didn't really follow the development of a guy who you might forget was the number 2 overall pick not all that long ago in the draft. Now, last year, he got off to a really nice start as well. His first 2 starts, 10 innings thrown, 1 run allowed, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. And that last number is the one that you circled because it's the bugaboo for Jack Leiter has been his walk rate. He only walked 1 hitter last night. If he can get that under control, he's got a 5-pitch mix. He does, and he throws hard. He's got the velocity. He's got everything. I've known this kid since he was 10 years old, and I would talk to Al about him, and it probably would have been easy to be a really good baseball player because his dad is extremely successful. But Jack has he would tell me, Chris, he wants to be a Cy Young winner. Like, that is his goal. He wants to be a world champion and a Cy Young Award winner, and he will grind to do that. So he grinds like a guy who comes from nothing, not a guy who grew up the way that Jack Leiter did.
Yeah, I mean, I just refuse to believe that anyone with the last name Leiter can't be successful as a pitcher in this league. Maybe that's just dumb baseball adage, but it's crazy. Like, I forgot. Yeah, he went number 2 overall. And like, this was like really the beginning of these college kids out of, the 2020s getting real hype, like real attention. And now that it feels like a yearly occurrence where we're hearing about these guys so early and building up their stock for the draft. Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker out of Vandy really felt like the first 2 out of that new trend. But I'm excited to watch him pitch this year. The Rangers definitely need him because DeGrom's already got an injury. Eovaldi got hurt last year and is not getting any younger. They need him to really step up and give them 32 starts and 32 good ones at that.
As it was, he made, I think, 29 starts. So he gave them that portion of the program. Now he's got to turn into a guy that can give them consistently 175, 180 innings and keep them in 80% of his starts, 85% of his starts, whatever it is. So I'm certainly focused on that. No question.
Good pick.
All right, today's episode is sponsored by MLB The Show, which is here, and the World Baseball Classic is part of the narrative. Take on real-life World Baseball Classic teams from all over the world with your Diamond Dynasty squad in the online mode. Now you can step up to the plate in brand new World Baseball Classic venues. That includes the Tokyo Dome and Estadio Hiram Bithorn down in Puerto Rico. Additional 2026 game features include Road to the Show, Road to Cooperstown, where you can build your legacy from the start of high school all the way up to Hall of Fame in career mode. Also, the Negro Leagues mode returns for Season 4 with all new legends, uniforms, and stadiums. And get this, if you visit mlbthe.show/jomboy, use that code JOMBOY, you can unlock a pack for use in Diamond Dynasty. Now, you need internet connection to make that thing work, but the thing is awesome. Available now on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series S, that's S as in Steve, and X as in X-ray, and Nintendo Switch, and it is rated E for everyone.
Oh, I like the little voice you put on at the end.
Thank you very much. All
Took me
right,
back to my
finally,
childhood.
I know we're saving this for last, but it might be the most interesting story we do this show because there are two teams that have given goo gobs of money to guys who have yet to appear in Major League Baseball. On Monday night, it started with the Milwaukee Brewers, who gave their 21-year-old shortstop Cooper Pratt, who's about a top 70-ish prospect, an 8-year deal worth almost $51 million. The guy is considered a great glove. Bat might need a little work, but that's what the Brewers do. We wake up Tuesday morning and we find out that the Seattle Mariners have said, hold my beer to that. They have given 20-year-old shortstop prospect Colt Emerson a record 8-year, $95 million deal that could escalate to $130 million. He is considered a top 10 prospect nationwide. Are these two moves jarring for you, or do they make sense?
I mean, it's never not jarring when you hear a prospect who hasn't had a major league at bat get these kind of big time extensions. But like, guess who else got a pre-arb extension before ever taking a major league at bat? Corbin Carroll. And it looks like one of the best contracts in baseball. So, I mean, every time it happens, I'm like, yeah, this is crazy that this is what happens now. But like at the same time, I don't know, man. Like the A's have their entire lineup locked down for the next 8 years because they did something similar to this with like Samuel Basallo, who I have no doubt is going to hit 30 home runs probably next year in a full season. He already has 67 mil. This is just what happens now, especially for these smaller market teams that have trouble alluring big time free agents. If they have talent inside their system, they want to get it locked down soon. And you know what? It's a team spending money on a player. I'm not ever really going to get upset about that, even if it's as ludicrous as someone who's never taken a major league at bat, because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the Brewers, this is following a game plan because before the 2023, in the offseason leading into 2023, I believe, or maybe it was during the 2023 offseason, they gave Jackson Chourio the $82 million over 8 years. And that was before he had an at-bat in the show. Now, Chourio, the way he profiles with his pop, you're like
kind of can't miss, but
right.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, we got to do that. And obviously with Pratt, when you hear great glove, that would scare the bejesus out of me. But if you can get a guy who hits 270, has an on base of 350, I'm in, and maybe some of the power develops. Even if he is just a 12 to 15 home run guy, that's fine. I'm still willing to pay that in a small market like Milwaukee. I think that more teams, I know you joked that it all comes back to Cleveland, but the Guardians don't do this. And it is something that they should fully be following in the Brewers lead. Now, as far as Seattle, if this guy's a can't miss, if McGonagall's a can't miss in Detroit, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you give this sort of money to a guy?
I think the only apprehension is like we have a couple of examples of it. Like Christian Campbell in Boston has the chance to be bad. Like it has the chance to age very poorly. It wasn't really necessary. And now it's, an 8-year extension that they're tied to with real money. A couple years back, I think, I forget his name. He was
Scott Kingery.
Scott Kingery got one. I think someone on the Angels/Mariners got one. John Singleton got one. Like there are examples of way less money, but these prospects not exactly hitting, and you're just tied up with this guaranteed money that you could be using on other players. I do think the success stories heavily outweigh the failing stories, but I think, with teams that don't spend a lot of money, they can use that as kind of a crutch for, we're probably not going to do this.
I love it. The only thing I worry about is then they're not going to get to free agency, and then we're not going to have enough to talk about in the offseason, which fair. Means
very selfish of you, Chris Rose. Very selfish.
All it means is you better start trading players.
Yeah.
That's all. just to give us so we all have fun stuff to talk about in the offseason. But I think it's great for these teams. I think we all know what it means for Crawford. That I think he's in the last year of his deal. If I'm
I
not
think so,
mistaken.
yeah.
And so if that's the case, thank you. Hope you have a nice 2026, and we'll see you somewhere else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but they really – I've heard his name for quite some time, and they're obviously big on him. 20 years old. He's played less than 10 games in AAA and guaranteed to have almost $100 million.
I'd sign on the dotted line. Why not, man?
Then
It's
nobody
a lot
would
of
give
money.
you nice wedding gifts.
That's true. That's true. Well, really? Even if you knew I was a 9-figure millionaire, you wouldn't give me a nice wedding gift?
It's a good question. So if somebody gets married
Yeah.
and they're already loaded,
Yeah. I think you get them like a personal gift. Like you would write them like a nice letter, or you would like make them a craft. Because that kind of gift gets into. Yeah. Because if you get them like a nice watch, they could just get that on their own. And you probably don't know their style and shit like that. But like if you get them something personalized, like a friendship necklace or like a bracelet, or I don't know. I'm spitballing.
yeah.
I don't have that many rich friends. I don't have to worry about this. All my friends are broke, including me.
Are you so wait, you didn't sign for $95 million?
No, believe it or not, my talents don't warrant that kind of payment.
Don't say that.
That's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
You're one of the most talented people here.
Okay, I'm going to clip this and take it to my next meeting.
You've got to be the pace setter.
Right,
here.
absolutely.
You've got to be the guy that does it for the rest of the Jomboy Players Association.
Right, the union rep, if you will.
Have you already registered?
Registered?
For wedding gifts.
Oh, we're building the registry right now. It's going to come out with invitations and stuff.
With invitations.
Yeah.
In case you're curious.
If you don't get one in the mail, I'm sorry, guys.
Ooh.
Well, there's a lot of people that might listen, that might want to come.
That's true.
It's a lot of chairs.
We'll let everybody know how it goes there. What's the invitation number list at?
I think it's at a number I hate because it's so high. I think it's like 160.
What do you mean hate? That's nice. You'll get
so many people. When we initially toured the venue, I told them 100.
Oh.
Yeah. They know now. It's not like they're going to be blindsided, but my goals were, a tighter wedding, and that's just not happening. Two big Italian families.
Oh yeah, that's not happening.
No shot.
Just enjoy the day. We'll have a nice talk before the wedding.
I think so.
Yeah, I'll give you that. All right, I always appreciate you filling in. You got one of the great baseball brains, not just in our company, but period. I always love seeing how you're thinking about things, and you're awesome. You're awesome at this. So whenever Plouffe wants to take an extra day here and there to go spend some time with his family, which I am all for. It's important to get breaks early in the season.
Even 4 days into the regular season.
Hey, when your kids are on spring break, you will understand this one day. When you get a chance to spend time with your kids during spring break, you take it. You take it. Nobody's going to give Trevor Plouffe any hard time. Not on this. Not on my watch.
He'll get guff.
Maybe from other people, not here. But thanks as always for hanging out. We appreciate it. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, this is the uber-talented Jolly Olive. I am Chris Rose. We will see you Wednesday. Trevor Plouffe back with us here on Baseball Today.